Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. And today's date is October 26th of 2022. The last video I made was the audio was out of sync with the video again. And I don't know what I did to cause that to happen, but so I've looked at several things. One, I had a second, as you know, I had two cameras working for the videos, the last few videos that I've been making. And this is a inexpensive, USB webcam, not a Logitech or anything, that I'm sure was made in China, and it gives a really good picture. I haven't had any problems with it, but I just thought, okay, keep it simple. A few, so I disconnected that. I made a change to where files are saved, and I may come back to that and work on that area a little bit. I found there was an update to the software for the Blue Yeti audio software, and I installed that. I don't know what area improved or whatever, but I did that. So, what I'm what I'm thinking is, keep it simple. I've got a bunch of microphones here. I've got several cameras, including uh, uh, digital cameras. A couple of those. I traded one off, but I've got two left. Haven't used them in a while because I don't take many outdoor. Well, you've seen what I'm doing is using my cell phone to make those videos, and you seem to like those. I've got actually some equipment that came that's just sitting on the shelf, and tripod that will hold a cell phone in there. If I recorded it that way, I think what I would have to do, what I would want to do, would be to have that go to it's supposed to be a 4 gigabyte directory, or because it's a USB Toshiba hard drive, external, but Windows only formats it at 2 gigs. So anyway, I think what I would do is save it to that. I don't know. It really bugs me that the out of sync for some reason problem. So the previous video, I think I may just go back and delete it. It was out of sync. I don't know. I hate to delete anything, not just files, but since 1982, I mentioned this before. I think you can count on one hand the number of people since 1982 that I have deleted from a site that I'm in control of or something. And I set a very high standard when I did my BBS bulletin board system. The links here, the link is someplace here to the BBS, the documentary, where you can watch it here. But it's the guy who made that DVD. He gave the rights to people, to everybody, that you can copy it, you can make copies, you can give it to, you can upload it and all that type of stuff. So you'll find BBS the documentary on YouTube, and you can also find it, I think I have it in a directory, is that it? Let's see, probably I have it. But the reason I'm talking about it now is that was part of the discussion on the documentary. The question was asked of SysOps, did you delete or did you ban people or anything like that? And I think most of the SysOps system operators said yes, that they did. And a lot of them, their policy was, if you didn't have the same type of computer that they had, they would disable you, cut you off. The other thing that they did was at Christmas time, when the BBS thing started, young boys, mainly, 100% probably almost, would get a modem for Christmas or whatever, and then they would log into, and these other SysOps, I think almost unanimously, would say they would just, some of them would shut down the day before Christmas morning or whatever. They would shut down there for a day or two or a little bit longer, just so those kids couldn't log in, stuff like that. I never did anything like that. My system was, it ran on, in the beginning on, first on a Radio Shack Model 1 computer. Then later, Commodore 64s. I ran it on Commodore 64s, and I just, and I never banned anybody, and everybody was welcome on my system, and I tried to help everybody that I could. And after the World Wide Web came, and after there's still some bulletin board systems out there, but it's probably too in some rest of the world someplace. I bet you'd probably find a lot of networking there. But I like when the first internet service provider came, where you could have internet hooked up. Of course, myself and a few other bulletin board system operators, we had already brought in the internet for through our bulletin board systems, and then we got, I think there was 3 or maybe 5 of us, and we chipped in to make it possible. And I'm sure because the internet when it started out was intended for military and university purposes, and so when people started noticing it, I went through several, whatever, Howard, .net, Howard.com. I sold that domain. I sold Howard. No, it was HNBVS that I sold for, I think that was $10,000. HMB, yeah. Because Helena National Bank bought it. I could have sold it for a lot more because HNB. What I should have done is bought, and I had some users tell me, "Hey, Jim, you ought to buy all these domain names," and I could have just done, let's see, HNB. I could have done and B, and going through the entire thing, and it would be, I guarantee that for every letter of the alphabet there would have been banks, that would want it. But anyway, I got $10,000 for it, and but I just was open to every. Oh, that was the thing. Oh, so anyway, got sidetracked. When the first internet service provider came to Kansas City, Missouri, I went down to sign up. I didn't wait to call. I didn't call. I got in my car and drove down, went in, and it was just, they weren't expecting anybody to come to their place, really. And it was like a warehouse. Well, I never went inside. I just went in not even a lobby, just a, small space. And and a guy came out, and I said, I want to sign up. He said, okay, great, and he said, okay, what's your name? And Jim Howard. Jim Howard, are you Jim Howard of Howard's Notebook? I said, yes. He said, when I was a kid, whatever, you were the first one I called, and you chatted with me, and you helped me, and whatever. And then he, I forget the name of the other guy, but he said, hey, Bill, come out. And the other guy came out. This is Jim Howard of Howard's Notebook, And same thing, the guy said, oh, wow, I learned about, and there was other, over time. One time I went into Radio Shack at a mall. Now, actually, at that mall, I had been, it just opened in Kansas City, Missouri. And, the deal was the general manager for, they opened a Radio Shack computer store. In North Kansas City or whatever. I didn't want to go there. Then they opened one that was out in Overland Park, Kansas, but that was close. They opened a computer store, and I went out there. And then the manager of the computer store, talked to me. And then I said, okay, let's see. I had a Radio Shack Model 1. I had a Radio Shack 2000. In fact, I had a couple of those. I had every product that they had in there. I had owned. And honestly, I mean that, everything. And he says, wow, he says, thank God. I forget exactly what he said for all of you, but, thank God. Okay, he says, you got the job, he says, but the district manager has to approve you. This is going to turn into a long thing. Anyway, they cut out a whole bunch. So it took a while for the district manager to contact me. I went out there, and he said, hey, he says, what we need is managers of our Radio Shack stores. And I said, no, thank you. I've been a long-time customer. Shopped in a lot of your different, Radio Shack stores. I talked to the, managers and things like that. And I know what the situation is there. No offense intended, but I don't want any part of that. And he, he did his spiel, And then he said, well, what if we had a Radio Shack store where you live in Belton, Missouri? And I said, oh, I was wondering about that because I saw at Cedar Tree Square, the big tall pole put up that you usually put your sign, things on. I said, I would be interested, yes, I'd take, So he says, okay, it's all, you'll get it, you send you to Bannister Mall there, you'll be the manager, trainee there. And then as soon as that store is ready, you'll. So then, not long, so I got sent to Bannister, brand new mall and brand new store. And a guy came in, and then the general manager of the store I was working at, where he was supposed to be training, well, he was training me. He went over and they were talking. And then calls me over, the general manager does, oh, this is Jim Howard. He's a manager trainee here. And this is so-and-so. And he is the manager of the store in, I forget where it was. It wasn't in Belton because that wasn't open yet. And anyway, the guy says, what store are they going to put you at? And I said, the new store that opens when it opens in Belton. And he looked funny. So then after he left, I said, I got a feeling that he probably lives in Belton, and he says, yeah, he does, and he wants that store. And I said, okay. So then the general manager called me out to take a test, and I lucked out, actually. I mean, I'm not smart, but just the test he gave me, I'm sure he was sitting there thinking, okay, this guy's going to, and I actually, like he showed me the spreadsheet, financial, whatever. What do you see wrong on here? And I said, well, the returns are way higher than they should be. He says, yeah. So he says, well, I got a guy, interested in, and I said, you're talking about the manager out there at Lee Summit or something. And I said, and I know he lives in Belton. And I said, he's entitled. He's one of your managers now. He's been working for you. He's entitled to the job. But the conversation that we had and the deal that we had was when that store opened, I said, he has every right to it, I think. And I said, but if I don't get the store, I'll be quitting. And he said, well, I haven't made a decision yet. But he said, oh, but what I want to do, he says, I want to send you to the store, which was real close, the closest store, to Belton. And it was an old one, and it was, small and whatever. But it just happens because of the way the Radio Shack worked, manager, gets percentage, gets profit. I don't know exactly how it worked. I knew then, I guess. And very few of the Radio Shack stores did a manager or an employee of Radio Shack did they make, commission. I mean, sometimes they were on a commissions basis, but that was a weird deal, because like what they do with the store and what they eventually did with that store I'm telling you about now that was the closest one to they had been there for years, and everybody knew when they thought of Radio Shack store, they went to that store. So I was sent there as manager trainee, and that guy that was the manager of that, he was like a gypsy in a way. He traveled across the United States and worked at Radio Shack stores. He knew he could go to town and with his background get hired in. But he spent very little time teaching me anything. I opened the store in the morning. I closed the store at night. He would be basically gone all the time visiting other stores and, Radio Shack stores. And so anyway, I got a call from the manager of the Bannister Mall store where I was the manager trainee. And he said, Jim, they just sent so-and-so out to Belton to open the store up. And I said, okay, thanks for calling. So I called the general manager and I said, I hear you just sent so-and-so out to the store. I said, I explained to you that if I didn't get the store, I would, I'd be quitting. And he says, that's okay. And he says, I've got somebody on the way right now already that's going there to replace you. And I said, that's fine. When he gets here, I will leave. When he gets here. Which normally I wouldn't have done something like that, but his attitude, was. And so this young black guy shows up, comes in. Of course, my manager wasn't there because he was almost never there. But I guess the general manager must have, the district manager or whatever, must have had his phone number or something. And so I said, I introduced myself to the guy and I said, make yourself look around. I said, the manager will be here in a while. So the manager came in, they went in the back, and then I heard this guy in the back yelling at, what do you mean Jim Howard opens the store every day and he closes the store every day? What in the hell do you do? And then before long, the black guy came out. I forget. We didn't really, he went and left. And anyway, I told the manager then, I said, the general manager called and he told me the guy was on the way, and I said I'd he got here, I'd leave. But I said, since the guy is staying, I said, I'll stay 2 days, but that's it, you know. So, anyway, why did I get on that subject? I don't know. Anyway, back to making this video. How long? Almost, okay, it's just 20 minutes. Seems like longer, even when I listen to myself. I don't like listening to myself. I don't like listening to watching my videos either. I watch a whole bunch of other people's videos on YouTube. And, okay, I forget if the 1 minute video or I don't go to Facebook anymore since they banned me. Oh, by the way, if you happen to be watching, the video where that was mentioned or whatever, where I mentioned it, I've been banned from Facebook, that inappropriate content, and I said, I don't see how I had any. I said, I said yes. I said that former President Trump was the stupidest president we ever had, and probably said something else about him, but I didn't think that was, I didn't think that was inappropriate, and I didn't think that I'd get banned for that. I said that would have to be the only thing it is. I don't do anything. Anyway, one of you, and I forget which one, sent a private email to me and said, Jim, he says, did you ever think that inadvertent video that you made where you stood up and I forget how this guy put it, your butt was showing because I was doing the video like this, and then I got up. Well, what I did was I thought I was switching from, like this to like this. But that's when I had, the second camera going, and I had also up in the right-hand corner. It was not a full screen. It was a small round video up there, and I forgot that I had set that up that way. So when I got up and turned around, you could see a little bit of you could see my butt cheeks a little bit, and you could see a little, the little crack there or whatever. And so then I came back, and on that video is still there, by the way. See, that went to all my videos at that time. Went as soon as they were made. They were posted on YouTube, and they were posted automatically on Facebook. Because I don't like Facebook, and but I had, it was good sending them there. I think I don't know that I. By the way, please subscribe. I lost 5 subscribers here in the last week or so. I forget what the stats were, but I'm trying not to lose subscribers. But so anyway, I think that I was not banned from Facebook. That would make more sense to me, because I couldn't understand how in the world I could have got banned for whatever. So they may have banned me for that. And if somebody did, object, that's fine. If somebody, that would make more sense. Not that I would, who cares? Well, I guess some people care. We got a lot of strange people here in the United States. Anyway, that's also one reason I got around to it today when this guy told me. I appreciate it. When that guy told me maybe that might be it, and then I answered him back. I said, yeah, thanks. I never thought of that. I totally forgot all about that. And that would make more sense. So I'm just gonna go with one camera for now. Not because that's 5%, maybe 5% of my reason. The 95% is maybe that's causing some kind of a problem with audio getting out of sync or something. So this is a 25-minute video, and then I'm going to upload this. And, well, I'm going to listen to it first and check on, then upload it. I hope it's going to be okay. But, so what you're going to see will be, with this plan that I have now, me just using this one camera. And you're going to see some more of these scrolling things, because I can sure use people, using the Amazon link and going to Amazon, because I've mentioned this in the last few videos. I'm not getting any, I think maybe $10 a month from people clicking on the link and going to Amazon. And in the past, there were a few times when I got, more. But so you'll probably see some more. Oops, I'm pointing up above. No, it's already there. Okay, yeah. I'll probably put some other links up like that, scrolling or something like that, because it'd be nice to have extra money coming in from YouTube. Or when I started back in the olden days, before most of you were born, I was one of the very few people who was sending, as far as I know, I was the first one. I'm sure whenever you think you're the first one, if you look back at who invented electricity and who invented the airplane and all this kind of stuff, you'll find legitimate people who have, in other countries or whatever, as an example, who could easily, yes, have invented, other than Orville Wright and his brother. I mean, so you should never say I was the first or something. But okay, what was I going to say? And I got sidetracked again. My mother had Alzheimer's, but I hope I don't get it. Well, especially I hope for my family. But I actually lucked out. My mother had been living in a trailer in a nice trailer park, and she never left the trailer. She wasn't handicapped. She just never left the trailer. And so when the Alzheimer's kicked in, she never left the, she didn't leave the trailer. And she went pretty quick. We used hospice. And actually, when we called hospice, this is going to be a story. Okay. I think it's someplace else. I'm sure it's someplace else that I mentioned this on my, anyway. I called hospice, and they came out, and she only was under their care for 2 weeks, maybe 3. I don't think it was even 3 weeks. But they came out, and they got all the information from us. And my daughter, Hillary, was a great, she moved in with my mother. And my mother never, so there was none of this thing. Now, my mother, a couple of times during that time, her electrolytes, were messed up. And at the hospital that I was working at the time, security, she was fighting with the nurses and giving the nurses hell. And then the social worker there at the hospital, called to, had me come up to her office and said, Jim, your mother needs to go in. And I said, no, she'll be fine as soon as she gets home. And okay, and that's what, the situation. Since my mother got home, she was fine. There was a guy across the street from her and his wife, and he was a World War II vet, and I really didn't talk to him very much, but talked to him and helped him a few times. The guy's wife took off, walking down the street, and one time I did. I looked out and saw her going, and I brought her back with my son. But anyway, there was no luck. I lucked out with my daughter helping and with the situation that my mother was in, and so not everybody has it as. Now, of course, working hospital security, I don't know how many times I'd be at the hospital and making my rounds or something, and I would look outside and there'd be some patient from the second floor that had just exited, a fire exit was out there. And I remember one time, a little old lady or whatever with a gown, how the gowns are out there, and it was a small hospital, and I went out and got her back into the hospital. And then I don't know how many times the nurses called them. Could I go up and watch somebody because they were understaffed? Could I watch somebody that was an Alzheimer's patient, that kind of stuff? So, by the way, my oldest daughter paid for what's the name of that one? I should know. The DNA thing. And my oldest daughter paid, and her husband paid for me to have the DNA thing, and for my ex-wife to have it, and get it, because she was interested in knowing what, and I think there's 2 markers or whatever, and I have one of them, for Alzheimer's. But so far I'm okay, I think. I guess you people will be able to decide. You'll know before I will, Anyway, thank you very much.